This game comes from an article I wrote several years ago about endings where each side has a rook and a knight. This material balance happens quite often, and some classical ideas in endgames have become well recognized. Nonetheless, there's a bit of a discussion. There's a bit of a lack of discussion of this topic in chess literature. Mikhail Botvinnik was well known for his great technique in this type of endings, and two of examples of his great skill in these endgames are the games Botvinnik against Alekhine in 1938 and Botvinnik against Levenfish in 1937. Instead, I'm going to focus on the less known examples here. So this game is Morozevich against Volkov from 1998. This game is a typical example of a game with rooks and knights, where one side, here it is black, is suffering from pawn weaknesses and passive pieces. As such, with his move rook c8, black tries to exchange a pair of rooks to somehow relieve his defense, but of course white does not want to do that. This is a useful waiting move. Now white can move the knight from d3 and later attack the pawn on d4 with the king. This is important also because, say, if black tries to exchange rooks with rook to e7, then white can exchange rooks on e7, play knight to f4, knight to e6, and then king to d3, and actually win one of black's pawns. And because knight endgames down a pawn are typically lost, this is too dangerous for black. So black essentially has to go back and forth without making any progress. White's active rook is tying up black's pieces. Now this is a common tactical theme. White threatens to take on c6 and then play knight to e5, check, winning the piece because of the fork. With this move, pawn to h5, white cuts off the black pawns on g7 and f5 from each other, so they wouldn't be able to defend each other, and that makes them even more vulnerable. So white achieved the pawn structure that he wanted, with the b4 square being covered, the g7 pawn being fixed, and the pawn on f4 being pretty weak as well. And now he himself offers the exchange of rooks. At this point, the knight endgame would be quite bad for black, so keeping the rooks is his only chance for counterplay. So white has won the pawn, and black tries to go for this desperate sacrifice, which doesn't work. White wins in several moves. White is up 3 pawns, so black resigned. This game was part of Morozevich's amazing rise to the chess stars during 1998. So this game is kind of typical illustration of ideas in these endings with rooks and knights, where the pawn structure, the placement of pieces are very important. So in the future examples I'll show more of the themes of such endgames.